you are constantly creating or continuing a story. Every moment of every day, you have stories going on through your head, stories going through your life, stories everywhere. They're all around you. The challenge is, how do you capture those stories and then tell them? Have you ever struggled with your stories? Struggled to get them out? Had a challenge like that? Sometimes, Cynthia? Sign out through struggle with your stories? Yeah. How do you get the stories out? How do you do all that? That's a common problem. And most speakers struggle with stories. Storytelling is one of the most difficult things they try to do out there. And it's just really confusing. And that was a problem that I had. Before I even came into Toastmasters, I was struggling with stories. Because I'd heard this thing before. Maybe you'd heard it before also, that to make a point, tell a story. You heard that before? Mm-hmm. You heard that, Simon? I'd heard the same thing, so I wanted to make points, I wanted to tell good stories. I figured, okay, I wanted to tell good stories. So what am I going to do? I thought, I'll go to Toastmasters. I had heard about Toastmasters from other people. I heard it was a great organization. I thought, that's where I'm going to learn how to tell stories. So I go to Toastmasters, and it's about 10 years or so. 10 years ago, I came to Toastmasters. And I started working my way through the Competent Communication Manual. You're very familiar with that book. Now, when I finished the Competent Communication Manual after about a year, at the very end, I still couldn't really tell stories. I learned a lot of things about prepared delivery, good stuff, but I couldn't tell a story. I thought, okay, can't tell a story yet, but there's other things in Toastmasters, and someone pointed out they have a manual called the Storytelling Manual. You heard of that? The Advanced Manual? Storytelling? I said, okay, Advanced Manual Storytelling. Only 5 projects in that. So I went through the Advanced Manual, started working on all the different things in the Advanced Manual, came into that. 7 months, pretty much working at it, off and on. You just said work gets in the way. But 7 months I was done. And at the end of it, I learned a lot of things of what a story was. The basics of the story, different types of fables, and different types of historical stories, and type of thing, kind of what they were, but I didn't know how to tell the story. And at this point, I'm getting a little bit frustrated, a little bit annoyed, and I thought, okay, maybe Toastmasters doesn't have all the answers. I know. You're shocked. You're absolutely shocked about that. Toastmasters doesn't have all the answers. Okay, maybe not. It's a crazy idea. Let me try something else. I'm going to go out and find storytellers. Get it straight from them. Does that make sense? Go right to the storyteller. They tell stories all the time. I figure they can help me out. So I go to some of these storytelling sessions on how to tell stories. And have you ever heard something with a lot of jargon? A lot of jargon, a lot of stuff, really technical stuff. I mean, they had this thing, they said it's important to have a hero. And I thought, well, does that mean, what do I do if I feel like a zero? And I said, okay, you've got to have an antagonist, a protagonist. And I thought, well, maybe did they mention something about a retagonist there somewhere? And with all these jargon and terminology, I got so confused. Finally, it was like 3 years later, and I just decided, you know what? Maybe I'm just not the sort of person who can tell a story. I've been struggling for 3 years with this thing, haven't been able to tell a bloody story yet. Maybe I should give up right now and just say, heck with it. It's not going to happen. I can't tell stories, and that's it. But then, I found a red paperback book. Red paperback book. Craig Valentine called World Class Speaking. Red paperback book, World Class Speaking. And it was like this paperback book spoke to me. It was like when I opened it up, it said, Tim, here I am. Answer your storytelling questions. And I said, book, this could be the beginning of an instructional relationship. And what I learned through that book was to tell a good story. It's really all about the story characters. Everything comes down to the story characters. If you don't have a good story of characters, then it doesn't pull you in, it doesn't engage you, it doesn't get you involved in the story. And the thing about a good story of characters, there are three basics. Three basics to having good story of characters. And the thing about it is that if you don't have these basics, stories are kind of flat. Uninteresting, they don't really involve you, they just kind of sit there, they don't pull you in, and you don't know why. You ever experienced that? You really aren't as involved in the stories you'd like them to be? Sometimes, yeah, I've had that too. Cynthia, yeah. But with the three basics, you find that people are interested. It pulls them in, almost against their will. There's something magical about a story. It pulls the audience in, gets them involved, and the great news is it's not complicated, it's not difficult, it's very simple. It's just three basics. Today, you will learn those three basics. You will find out what the secret to a powerful, engaging story is. You'll learn much more than that. By the time you leave here today, you'll be able to tell a good story, a great story, anytime, anywhere, anyhow, any when. It all comes down to understanding those three basics and how those three basics work and how to engage. So I'm going to step you through those three basics. The first basic, and then the second basic, and the third basic. You see how each one builds on each other. So first basic leads to the second basic leads to the third, and all of it comes together to help you tell a really, really great story. And it all begins with that first basic.